Homicidal clothes cause I'm dressed to kill. Leave 6 bitches oohing cause I'm worth a mil. Flow is ill, spitting no vomit spill. Killing them softly but I ain't Lauren.
What is up, my people? Welcome to another episode of the Townie Sports Podcast. I am one of your 2 wonderful hosts for the evening, Sami, alongside none other than the great Vic. Vic, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well, Sami. Just got done putting down the kids for to go to bed, and now I'm rushed over here so we can get on the pod and start talking about some NBA free agency.
And that indeed we freaking will. So that's kind of how we'll structure today's episode. I really wanted to touch on a little bit of the MLB today, but I don't think we're going to get to it considering all the crazy things that have happened in the last week.
Insane, dude.
Even the last couple hours. First and foremost, Vic, we'll probably structure this since I think the last time we talked, it was 3-2 Golden State. Obviously, the very next game, I think it was either that night or the night after, the Celtics lost. So we got to lick our wounds a little bit so we can kind of touch on that, what we thought about it, what we took away from the Boston Celtics team, what we took away from Golden State. Then we'll get into a little bit of the NBA draft. It was really top heavy there, so I don't think there'll be a ton to touch on. I know there's a lot of guys that you're interested in overall, but I think there were some interesting things that happened in that draft. Then we'll just dive right into everything that's happened in the last 24 hours and technically in the last 4 hours, right? And NBA free agency. And then if we have a little bit of time at the end, we'll touch on the AL East because, man, the AL East is absolutely stacked this year. Everybody is beating each other up. They're beating every other team up, and then when they play each other, it's been an absolute bloodbath. But I don't know if we'll get time to that. If anything, that'll definitely be next episode for sure. But anyway, first and foremost, the Golden State Warriors, of course, came through victorious. They are the NBA champions. Steph Curry. There was no question Steph Curry was going to get the NBA Finals MVP there. But overall, Vic, we lost the series 4-2. We got to lick our wounds. We got to be depressed for a week. But, what did you think about the NBA Finals as a whole, the playoffs? Sum up the series for the Boston Celtics this year.
It came to, of course, a disappointing end there. A lot of people want to put the blame on Tatum and Brown and Marcus, but I think most of the blame has to go with our bench. Our bench guys did not perform up to the standards of the Boston Celtics in that series. Really, since the Bucks series, we haven't really seen big contributions. Maybe a game or two from Pritchard during the Heat series, but other than that, we didn't get much from our guys coming off the bench. We relied heavily on starters and Al Horford, coming through clutch in Miami. But, I really got to blame the bench guys here. I don't remember the last time Grant Williams made a 3. Peyton Pritchard, I don't think made a 3 after the first game or something of the NBA Finals. He was horrendous. So it's tough for those guys to be playing heavy minutes on back-to-backs on little rest when they just had 2 game sevens the series previous. So, kudos to the Boston Celtics. None of us expected this year. So, it is disappointing in the end, but a happy surprise, I think, to say the least, that we made it all the way to the final. So, just lick our wounds, like you said, and get back to it next year.
Yeah, I think you alluded to something pretty interesting there. I'm looking through the list of playoffs stats overall. So I'm looking at the entire playoffs as a whole. And you take a look at that top 5 as far as minutes played per game. And the top 5 are as follows: Kevin Durant, Pascal Siakam, Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, DeMar DeRozan. Only one of those guys made it all the way through the entire playoffs. And so you're looking at your star player playing 41 minutes a game and having to do that the entire duration of the NBA playoffs. So I think him being gassed out was real, right? That's a fair assessment. And I think at first it was fine to get down on him. And, we're always going to be those, big time fans that are just going to immediately jump on our all-star. He couldn't do it. But when you look at that, that's a pretty telling stat when he has that I mean, you go down the list. I'm trying to find when Jimmy Butler, right, is at 24, 37 minutes per game. So, I mean, we like to compare the Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And then you look at Steph Curry, only 35 minutes a game. I mean, granted, I think he was out for, a game or two. But, I mean, that's insane, And I think even Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart was 28th with 36 minutes per game. Jaylen Brown was top 15, 38 minutes per game. So I think you nailed it on the head. It was just, the bench didn't give Ime Udoka enough to have him consistently keep them in the game. I mean, and for the finals, other than game one, the bench really didn't show up.
And other than that, though, Sammy, it's also this team, Jaylen Brown 25, Jason Tatum 24, I believe Marcus Smart's 28.
Jason Tatum's 19.
Yes, that's correct. 19. I'm sorry, Jason Tatum's 19 years old.
Shout out Weird Celtics Twitter.
Well, and here's the thing: is like Curry, when he made his first finals, he was 28. LeBron 28. These guys are Giannis 27, I believe. These guys were older and had been in the league for a long time before they made the finals. These guys are ahead of schedule, and we have to keep that in mind when we're talking about the Boston Celtics. This was a young team, really minus Al Horford. Really, You look up and down this roster, Grant Williams, a third-year player, Peyton Pritchard, a second-year player.
And we really didn't see them since the Milwaukee series, right? They kind of, as it got deeper.
But you got to look at the run as a whole, right? So we're looking at the run as a whole. Rob Williams, also super young. So other than Al Horford, I think we were definitely the youngest team in the playoffs, but we were going up against probably the most experienced finals team since the Chicago Bulls back in the day, the 90s, those 90s Bulls teams. They've been there before. They've been tested. They know what the finals are. They've been that far, so they know how much it's going to take. I mean, even look at Derek White. He's only 27 years old, so super young team. I think they'll be back, in the future. I don't know about next year. A lot of these teams that are snatching up free agents, they are getting better. You look up and down the list at the signing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting worried, and of course, the Heat are apparently in on everybody. Every time I see a free agent, I see a tweet right after the Heat are interested in blah blah, and it honestly that part's getting annoying. But we need to do something. We need to upgrade that bench. That's our biggest hurdle. And I see the stuff about KD and
so perfect. Before you continue, perfect segue, right? So we can segue this into kind of the free agency talk, so we can start off the top and say, okay, what are we looking at? As us, Townie Sports, biased Townie Sports. What are we looking at right now for free agency for the Boston Celtics? Both realistic and as far as maybe a little unrealistic, but more of a need that could potentially work out. What are you seeing? The Danilo Gallinari is out there floating around. The Celtics might use the MLE on him. I would love TJ Warren personally. I think that should be the guy we're targeting as far as he could be a good scorer off the bench, a good big scoring wing off the bench. Kyle Kuzma is probably my favorite trade name. You want slow-mo or no?
No, I'm okay on slow-mo. How are you feeling on him?
I mean, I heard Bill Simmons bring it up, and I was like, and then I went and looked at his stats. So for people that don't know, slow-mo, nickname, Kyle Anderson. Decent three-point shooter. Obviously, we know he's a willing and able defender. But is he really that playmaker with the ball in his hands?
Is he really a good defender, though? Like, I don't see him. I'll be honest, I haven't really watched a lot of Memphis Grizzly basketball, but is he really that good of a defender?
I think he's compared to some of the other guys, outside of maybe Grant Williams, I think he'd be above Pritchard, maybe just below Derek White as far as a defender coming off the bench. And I think that's fine. I think that's good. For the right price, of course.
even stat wise, he's not the guy we're looking for in terms of shooting, a shooting wing off the bench.
Right.
Yes, he can put up points, but even last year he managed a career average of 7.6 right now. So his career average is 6.7 points per game. He had 7.6 last year, a downfall from about 6 points from the previous season where he averaged about 12. So if you were talking to me about last year, I would have said, yeah, let's go for it. But, seeing the regression there, this team was better.
What were his minutes?
What's that?
What were his minutes?
His minutes were down, but granted, I just don't like to see that regress as badly as it did. And his shooting splits were down as well this year, significantly, about 20%, about 20%. So, I'm not his biggest fan now, and I know I say that when I say that I want Gallinari too. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. At least Gallinari's shooting numbers are going to make up for his horrendous defense.
He's going to get buckets. He's going to get buckets.
He is, exactly. I mean, he in let's see, how many minutes did he have last year? So in 25 minutes last year, he averaged 11 points.
He shot like 40%, right, from three.
Well, I was looking at the rebounds, 4 rebounds per game, about 40% from three, 38% from three, on 43% shooting overall. So not too terrible when you look at it as a whole. He's not the defender we want, though. That's why I like a Kuzma here. That's my dream get if you're asking me my dream get.
No, I actually really, really like that. You mentioned Danilo Gallinari to me, I think it was yesterday or the day before, when we were kind of looking at potential upgrades at different positions, especially kind of that bench scorer, that a guy that can come off and you won't have to worry too much about a scorer, right? You got a guy that can come out there and he's good for the 11, 12 points, not like a Pritchard who, granted, I love Peyton Pritchard. You know me, I've been a big Pritchard guy since he got drafted. One day he can give you 20, the next day he'll give you 3. Danilo Gallinari is probably good for a consistent 12 to 15.
Consistency.
Right. And he's going to shoot at a pretty good clip, and I think with the spacing in Boston, and I think maybe with a slightly bigger role, I think he can be pretty significant. And yeah, like you said, you don't love the defense there. You really don't love the defense there.
Well, actually, just breaking news right now, Sammy.
Oh, here we
Kevin
go.
Knox, the first overall pick of the Knicks back in 2019, just signed for $6 million to the Detroit Pistons. Good get for the Pistons.
Yeah, I actually really like what the Pistons did this whole offseason.
Me too. I think they're doing a great job. I don't know if they're going to get Ayton anymore, but I think they did a great job in the draft. Which is something we can talk about as well. But I love it. I love what they're doing, and they're making a good team there. But I sorry to get off the Celtics thing. So who is your dream Celtics get?
I'm with you. So originally I was on the Kyle Kuzma, John Wall bandwagon. I was like, I don't mind John Wall on like a $5-6 million deal. Even if we could do it for a little less, wouldn't mind it. But I mean, hey, $5-6 million for a guy come off the bench, and he's going to get buckets. But is he going to be willing to take that slightly lesser role, play 25 to 35 minutes, take a lot of the onus off Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, because that guy's a bucket getter. That guy can handle the ball really well. And who knows, in some spot situations, he might be with the first team. You know what I mean? Because he can be a pretty decent distributor. But obviously, that's not going to go to fruition as I believe he is going. Where is he going right now? I saw it earlier today. Did you see it?
No, who was saying? I'm sorry.
John Wall.
John Wall. He's going to the Lakers, right? Or no, the
Clippers.
Clippers.
Yeah. So he will be signing with the Clippers. Pretty good get for them on the deal that he's getting. But yeah, the Kyle Kuzma as well. I did hear the TJ Warren thing on the podcast you had recommended to me. And I was like, that's pretty interesting. I wouldn't mind that. Granted, we haven't seen the same TJ Warren as we have since
he's been injured.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Since the bubble. But I think if you get somewhere in between the two with what you get from the bubble versus, what you get other than that, the 10, 15 points, I think that would help ease some of that pressure on Jalen and Jason, especially come playoff time, especially because you're seeing these minutes numbers as my cat is screaming in the background.
I thought that was my kid. I was like, oh shit, he woke up.
Correction, Steph's cat. As Steph's cat is screaming in the background.
Well, I know you mentioned the production in the bubble was, significant, but the year before even, in 2018, 2019, he averaged 18 points a game.
And a lot of that was in the second half, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because he only played 43 games that year.
Yeah.
So the worry with TJ Warren for me is he still's never played a full 82 game season yet. And his shooting splits, are they real? Are they not? So
right.
If you want to look back at 2016, he shot a horrendous 26% from three. That jumped up in 2018 to 42%, and then 40% in 2019, 2020 when he had that awesome run in the bubble. So I think he, as far as scoring options off the bench, he would be the best free agent to get for the Celtics. But if you're looking for the best overall player who's going to fit, I think Kuzma fits there. I think, unfortunately he's gone now, but I really liked Gary Harris as well. I know you mentioned Seth Curry.
I did.
In our chat.
So I mentioned Seth Curry because I was a big fan of him in the playoffs because he destroyed us. Nobody else showed up for that Brooklyn team. KD occasionally. Kyrie had the first game where, we ended up kind of destroying all of his momentum because we got the game winner against him, like the play was on him. But Seth Curry kept Brooklyn in every single one of those games. And I was like, that's the perfect guy we need. If we get a guy like that can come off the bench and just drop a straight 15 from anywhere on the court. And I actually wasn't that... I was not that upset by his defense on occasion. I thought he was a willing defender, may not be the best defender, but I think when you have a guy that's willing to defend and can buy in.
But we don't need a defender, especially at the guard, because we have White, we have Smart. We just need a scorer at the guard position. But really, we need a wing more than anything else. But a Seth Curry would be wonderful to have. He's never shot under 40% from three in his career. So I think that'd be a wonderful get for the Celtics if they could swing it.
And it could be potential because, look at what's happening in Brooklyn right now. They might be kind of all in on the get rid of some of these players for more assets, especially if they notice, well, we're going to be in a hardcore rebuild or in a semi-rebuild coming up. So right.
And we're in a good place right now because especially, with the MLE and the TPE that we have, the trade exception that we have from Fournier, a lot of these teams that are jockeying for positions on Kevin Durant, may be trying to shed salary in order to fit him in to their team. So we could swoop in and nab up a guy on a good deal. Whereas, if this Kevin Durant trade, had never happened, those situations wouldn't have come to bearing fruit. So, a lot of moves for the Celtics, a lot of moves happening right now. You want to talk about the biggest one, KD, and where do you think he's going?
Yeah. So obviously it came out today, probably 3 or 4 hours ago, that KD wants out of Brooklyn. And this comes on the heels of Kyrie Irving signing his player option and kind of coming back. But also I thought it was interesting because he kind of, before he did that, he held the league, held Brooklyn, held kind of KD hostage. So I think this was a situation you saw KD be like, you know what, I'm kind of done here. I'm out of this. You're trying to leverage all of this, and you only played 20-something games last year. So I think we look at it, our first instinct is to say, oh, KD sucks. But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't hate him for wanting this. I hate that the situations are occurring like they are, and I'm going to always kind of have a little chip on my shoulder against Kevin Durant. But given the situation, but I guess you can always look back too and say, well, you wanted Kyrie Irving on your team. But I think we're hearing now some of the rumors are Phoenix. Phoenix obviously wants Booker. I don't think they or I mean, Brooklyn wants Booker for it, and I
They
don't think
they can't get Booker.
right, and I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think that they're just kind of waving their dicks around at each other, kind
No,
of
I'm
like
like it like legally it can happen.
Okay.
For the league.
right. So they're not on the same page currently. You might be looking at a situation with like what Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, and maybe a couple picks and pick swaps that could potentially happen there. Which, I mean, if you're Brooklyn, that's not a terrible place. You could be an 8 seed again, right? If everybody buys in, kind of like how they were before they got KD and Kyrie. But yeah, what do you think?
And sorry if you see me like jumping around. I keep just refreshing my Twitter.
Yeah, I get it.
To try and get this hot stinking news to you guys. But so there's a number of players that that you would think would be a great fit with KD, but cannot be traded for KD because the Brooklyn Nets have been traded for Ben Simmons, who has a designated rookie extension, and only one player per team may be received. You can only acquire one player by trade with a designated rookie extension.
Oh, interesting.
So that one player on the Nets is Ben Simmons. So the people that currently have that type of extension: Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, Kat, Jamal Murray, Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, Trae Young, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, and Michael Porter Jr. So those are all pieces that cannot be traded for Kevin Durant. So if the Nets
this
are not
segment
interested,
of Vic's financial advice is brought to you by Schwab.
right? There you go. So,
Vic's
so
NBA
those are
financials.
Exactly. So if you want to talk about cap, let me know after the show. I'd love to go over it with you. But the move that came right to my mind, even before I saw the tweet about his preferred destination being Phoenix, was this is easy. It's an 8-4 KD swap if you're Brooklyn. Brooklyn has no interest in DeAndre Ayton apparently, so that's going to be an issue there. I think Dallas wants KD bad. I don't see the package there for him, though. I don't see you being able to package 4 picks and Tim Hardaway Jr. for Kevin Durant. I think that the Chicago Bulls could possibly be in the running. Now, here's the question. Are they going to have to give up LaVine? And I think that it would have to be a sign and trade with Zach LaVine. So, obviously, you do that in a heartbeat, but the Celtics, I hate to mention it. I hope they do not do this, but we do have to mention it. JB for KD, JB and some assets for KD,
and that's catching a lot of steam. That is catching a lot of steam.
If I'm the Celtics, I don't do that trade.
I don't either, but
for a number of reasons. But whatever. I guess sure. And then the Miami Heat are also in the running again. I'm not sure who the Heat can give up for KD. They can't. Bam would have been the pick here, but they can't give up Bam. It would be and just as I said that Kyle Anderson has agreed to sign with the Timberwolves, but KD. Who are they going to give up Tyler Hero and assets? So would you take Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and 3 first-rounders for KD? I'm not sure if Kyle Lowry needs to be in the trade for money.
Probably does.
Salaries. But I mean, I would do that in a heartbeat if I'm the Heat. But if you're the Brooklyn Nets, are you going to do that? Especially if you're holding out for a really good offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see. And then now that you mentioned it, because I heard a lot of rumors and rumblings about the Miami Heat, especially because number one, that's a destination that Kevin Durant wanted to go to, but also number two, a lot of people thinking he'd be a good fit there and thinking that they have the trade assets. But you take one of those assets out because, as you mentioned, that contract situation with Bam Adebayo, well, he's no longer on the table as an asset to provide to Brooklyn, which would have potentially been an asset that you could provide, but you can't. And are we looking at Tyler Hero as that, as they mentioned in what they want in a package, an all-star caliber player? Is Tyler Hero
right.
that?
I don't think he is.
I don't think so either.
I think if you would ask me 2 years ago, his rookie year, I would have said yes. As of right now, he is a. Now this isn't to say he can't get better at it, but he is a sieve on defense, so that doesn't help his value there. But I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't know about the money wise. Let me pull up the NBA trade machine real quick. So before I even say it, so why don't you go on your like a little kiddie rant, because I've been talking for too long now, and I gotta let you cook for a little bit on what you think about this whole thing.
No, I mean my biggest thing and my biggest takeaway from this situation is the contract situation. Now, and this has always been kind of a big issue for me with the NBA. It's like, yeah, we have a lot of guaranteed contracts, and a lot of guys get paid a ton of money in the NBA, and it's always nice to lock up players for a certain amount of time, 5, 6 years. But at the end of the day, if guys are going to pull situations like this, like Ben Simmons, like Kyrie Irving, and, not ironically, they're all currently on the same team,
right,
that can pretty much do whatever they want and leave whenever they want and essentially hold the team hostage. And granted, they are leaving some money on the table by not playing, but now the player has the leverage because all 30 teams know that guy's not going to go. You know what I mean? Like, so it just leaves a lot of the teams kind of left-handed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it just that's been my biggest thing with this whole situation. It's like, this sucks. Like, these guys just can pretty much do whatever they want, even if they have these contracts. And it's like, well, what's a contract anymore? that's been my only take.
So here's one for you. A possible trade: Kevin Durant to Atlanta for John Collins, Kevin Huerter, and DeAndre Hunter, and picks.
Too. I've heard that.
Oh, that's why I just came up with it. But that, I mean, that's honestly, that's probably the best package that they're going to get if the Celtics are unwilling to trade Jaylen Brown. You get John Collins, who may not be all-star caliber right now, but still a younger player, 24 years old, tied up for 4 years now. He just signed the extension last year. You get DeAndre Hunter, who isn't expiring, but also has shown promise at 24 years old before he got hurt this year. As a great two-way player. Kevin Huerter can be a piece to even maybe another trade, maybe a three-way trade if Brooklyn wants to do that and send Huerter out and his $14 million salary. But those are probably the best as far as young, good pieces that they're going to be able to get. I think that's better than what the Heat can give.
I think better than what a lot of teams can give, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And man, imagine that team: DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, and Kevin Durant. Although I have a hot take on DeJounte Murray, but I'm going to get to that at another time. But
yeah. I mean, hey, now's the time. There's no better time than now.
I mean, yeah. So that's part of the other news. DeJounte Murray obviously going to the Atlanta Hawks in a trade as of yesterday, right? Like, it was like 7 p.m. yesterday. They made that trade. Do you remember what that trade package was? It didn't seem like a lot, in my opinion, from San Antonio.
It was a lot. I got it right here. DeJounte Murray trade. I think it was total 4 first rounders, and that includes trade swaps. Mm-hmm. Pick swaps. It was, let's see here. Right here. It was Danilo Gallinari and 3 first rounders and a draft swap. Mm-hmm. So Gallinari and 4 pick swaps.
Greg Popovich fleeced the Atlanta Hawks.
I think so too.
Fleeced them.
4 picks for DeAndre Hunter, DeJounte Murray is insane. He's a good player, but KD's about to get 4 first-round picks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Granted, he's 25 years old, but this is a guy that is a point guard that can't shoot really. I mean, I would love to have him on my team, but not for that price.
No, not at all.
I mean, you're leveraging your future big time there.
Yeah, and it's like you're looking at a player that, like you said, can't really shoot the ball. Is a good ball handler. Plays probably one of the best defenders as far as a guard is concerned. But if he's in a liability from the shooting, like what was Atlanta Hawks like entire game last year? Was just all spacing. Shooting and spacing. I mean, maybe that helps him slash to the hole. But I mean, maybe Greg Popovich realized that what he did last season was potentially his ceiling. You know.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's going to come into big money very soon.
Yeah.
So
and nothing against the player. I'd love, like you said, I'd love him on my team. But I mean, when you look at value, right? So you're looking at the value of DeJounte Murray as that. You're kind of thinking like, maybe he's not as good as we all think, you know?
No, the value there's absolutely no value in that trade. But I understand why Atlanta made it. They had to. They needed to make a move. I don't think that they saw this KD thing coming. I don't think anybody did.
Anybody did, yeah.
I literally shouted
but
out
nobody
loud,
was surprised, right? Like nobody's surprised.
No. I mean, I was surprised. I was shocked, to be honest with you. Only because it was just a few days ago where Kyrie said that he's coming back because he made a commitment to Kevin Durant. So I mean, have these guys not talked at all? Like, what is going on here? So that just shows the dysfunction in the Nets front office. How they could have they've only had them for 2 years. And I had this here, and I screenshotted it. It was that let's see here, that the amount of time that they played together. So KD, over the last 3 years, the Nets have played 247 games. Brooklyn had both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on the court together for a total of 58 of those games, which alludes to 23%. Wow. 23% of the games in 3 years that they played together, or 2 years that they played together. How does that happen as a front office? This is just a big loss for the Nets, and this is going to set them back a long time.
A lot. Big shout out to JC. He made first of all, want to congratulate him on the birth of his daughter. I don't know if we did it last time, but congratulations, Arctic JC. And if you guys don't know, if you guys are all tuning in, be sure to check out his YouTube page. Give him a like, give him a subscribe. He does a lot of Pokemon card openings. But also, he mentioned a good point. Is KD potentially eyeing the Los Angeles Lakers? And do they have a package square enough to match up? I mean, AD is an all-star level player. Do those salaries match?
He is, absolutely. I mean, absolutely he is. But, just going back to the Murray trade here, ESPN gave the Hawks a C for that. So it was a 2023, 2025.
And they're usually pretty nice, right? Like ESPN's usually pretty nice on trades.
Yeah.
That's it. That's more of like a D or an F.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But going back to Kyrie, I've never seen anything like this in professional sports. I'll be honest. These two players together has made for a complete shitstorm. And to all the people that said that the Nets won this trade, won the original trade, the Celtics trade, when the Nets acquired KD and Kyrie, egg on your face. You're eating crow right now because this is terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know how if I'm the Nets, instead of trying to recoup an all-star caliber player, I'm going full rebuild mode right now, and I'm fire selling everybody. Kyrie's gone, KD's gone, Seth Curry's gone. Give me I want young play. I'm going young players. I'll ship out KD for somebody like some young up and coming player that might have some value in the future, kind of thing, and then get picks back. Because that's the only way you're going to rebuild the franchise. After this debacle, I don't know many free agents that are going to, even though it is Brooklyn, I don't know many free agents that are going to want to sign there now after how poorly the front office handled this situation.
Another interesting take that was brought up today by one of my buddies on a side, he was asking me, he said, does this situation with creating the super team in Brooklyn, as everybody touted as oh man, this could be probably one of the best teams on the court, if they all play, right, when we first saw it happen.
Right.
You and I were even scared about it. Oh my God, yeah, just give them the trophy Absolutely. Right now. But does this say a lot about, and again, 2008 Celtics, does this say a lot about the big three in Boston and then the big three in Miami? How those two were able to function, but we have yet to see another situation like that was able to function. I mean, even the Clippers, right? The Clippers tried to form their own, and that didn't really work out to their advantage. Brooklyn tried to do, and it's not working. I mean, I guess is this the changing of the guard? Are we realizing maybe the true super team doesn't work? It's more of a fit, right? It's a system fit, and I think you look at the Celtics situation, And those were guys all that fit together. And then Miami kind of emulated it, probably with younger players, better players. LeBron, Wade can be compared to Pierce and Allen, and then Chris Bosh and Kevin Garnett. You know what I mean? So it kind of looks like it's a kind of a fit, but it says a lot about those super teams that were first created, right?
Right. And well, you got to look at the structure around those super teams, right? So the Celtics had Danny Ainge and Doc Rivers. Very established head coach in the league, had played in the league with the Hawks, had been to championships, had been to playoff games, and then you had just the Celtics organization as a whole. You had Paul Pierce, who had been a Celtic for his entire career before that, and then you look at the Heat situation, and it was the Miami guys there had been there. Wade was drafted by Miami. He bled Miami. Eric Spoelstra was there. Pat Riley was there. There was some gravitas there. And I think the biggest issue here is that these guys are going to these teams that, never drafted either player, right?
Right.
So look at the Clippers, and, they didn't get either. They didn't draft their two guys, and KD, Kyrie, and Harden were not drafted by the Nets, obviously. But you look at the Golden State Warriors, where their quote-unquote big three were all drafted by them, and they seem to be doing fine, right? So I think it's more of like a situation thing, one. And then, there has to be a player there, and this is, just a crazy formula here, but there has to be a player there that has some ties to the city, that has some ties to the organization, like Paul Pierce did, like Dwayne Wade did, and like all three of those Golden State Warriors players do. So I think that's the formula if you want to make a big three. I don't think you can just go to a team and say, let's all play here together at this random team, because there's no infrastructure.
Right.
Right.
You need a balance of power.
Right.
So kind of the other big news that came out today, obviously pretty much right at 4 p.m., around 4:35 p.m., Bradley Beal signs his Supermax, or 4-year, 4-year or 5-year, $250 million deal. I think it was about $50 million a year. So I think it was 5, right? It was 5 years.
Yeah,
$250 million.
Ridiculous money for it.
I mean, at first, I'm going to say this. The more I thought about it and thought about the Bradley Beal situation, I was more and more convinced on the other side of Bradley Beal. I looked at the situation of, like, he might be on the wrong side of 30. Is he, and at value again, right? Like, we come back to that same point of value. Like, is he a $50 million player?
Well, he just turned 29 this week.
Okay.
But to your point, I don't think he's a $50 million a year player. I think he is he could potentially be a number 2 on a championship team. I think more suited to be a number 3. I don't think and the only reason I feel like that they are paying him as much as they're paying him is because he's been there so long, and he's the best player on that team. Of course, he's averaging, he averaged, 23 points a game, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists in 40 games last year. But, he had 30 points a game the previous 2 seasons. So,
but did you see the peak there?
I think, no, absolutely we did. And he can't defend either. He's a smaller guard. This has a Kemba Walker feeling to me. When the Celtics gave Kemba that big money, and not nothing against Kemba. I don't think that he was cooked. I don't think that he knew that he was cooked. Honestly, I don't think anybody did, other than me. But I don't think this is going to work out. I think they're going to look back at it in 3 years and say, "Man, we screwed up."
Yeah. Shout out to Bill Simmons. I was convinced more and more as he was bringing it up on his podcast. I started looking at the stats. I started looking at the numbers, seeing kind of not the regression, but just looking at the proof on the opposite side. It's like, well, what has he done? His best years were with John Wall. Wall leaves, and the team is not the same. Granted, it's a roster construction thing. So again, kind of a balance of power where you're not getting really a support system around you. But at the same time, if you're a $50 million a year player, you should be bringing your team perennially to the playoffs, i.e. a Trae Young, right? Like, that's a guy that I would probably be more apt to give a $50 million deal to. I mean, granted, he's got a little bit of a better support system, but that's a guy that can carry your team.
That's a lot better.
Yeah. Questionable, in my opinion. I think it's questionable.
I mean, other than Kyle Kuzma this year, I mean, who did he have last year? Spencer Dinwiddie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Beal has had a terrible team these past few years, and that's honestly why I think he performs so well, is because he's literally the only person on the team that can score. I think he is the perfect good stats, bad team player.
Is he a winner? That's the big question.
He won in college, right? So I think he is a winner. I just don't think he's a winner on this team.
Okay. All right. Any other? Let's see. What else we got here? I know there's been a lot of what other. So the other one. I wanted to get A-Rod on a podcast with us today. Didn't get a chance. He's out. I think he's taking his pops out to dinner tonight. But
to celebrate the Jalen Brunson signing?
I was just about to say. The New York Knicks, obviously, the proof was all there. We all knew the tampering was happening, and it was like right in front of all of our faces. Jalen Brunson signs. Actually, to be fair, didn't hate the contract on first sight. Maybe you can convince me otherwise. 4 years, $110 million, averages about $27-ish million a year. Contract for Jalen Brunson to the New York Knicks. What was your opinion on that?
So the contract I didn't think was too bad, right? It was what was it? 4 years, 120?
110.
110 million. So that's about 30 a year averages out at the end.
Yeah. No, it's a little under.
Right.
It's like 27 a year.
All right. Yeah, right, but like his last year I think is the highest year, and I think that's going to be like something, whatever. Anyway. I think that's the right amount of money that you're paying, that type of player, that type of guard. I think he's a starting guard in the league? I do. I don't know that they needed to gut their team the way they did just to get him, though. You know what I mean? Obviously they needed to in order to get under the cap so they could afford to get him. Yeah. What I mean is I don't think he's the type of player you gut your team for to shed salary so you can get X player.
Right.
Even though I think they did a good job getting, the salary numbers right. This is a guy that is 25 years old, right? Still probably just about to enter his prime of his career. Averaged 16 points last year. 37 points.
20 in the second half too, I think. In the second half of the year, it's like 21 points a game.
And then I think in the playoffs he averaged 21. So. Yeah. 37% 3-point shooter. Not really known as a great distributor, but still averaged 5 assists, 3 rebounds a game. So I think the money is right. I don't know about the fit with this team and what their expectations are of him. Now, are they expecting him to come in and be the savior, be like what they wanted Kyrie to be? Then I think that they are going to be sadly let down.
Yeah.
He's not a savior. He's a winning piece, right? He's not going to be your star player on a championship team. He's not even going to be your second best player on your championship team. He's going to be the third best player. And let's remember that a lot of these field goal percentage numbers are coming when teams are focused off of Luka Doncic. So let's remember that. I know he had successful games against in the playoffs, without Luka in the lineup. But Spencer Dinwiddie was still there too, right? So, in taking a little bit of the heat off. So I don't hate the contract. I hate the expectation. I think is more than what I want to say.
I love that you said that. Perfect explanation of it. We're gonna find out if, as he mentioned, or as there was some allusion to, or as he alluded to, he didn't want to take a backseat to Luka. So we're gonna find out if Luka made him better or worse now that he's kind of on a team where he's more the front guy. I still think it's RJ Barrett, but they're all younger than him, so he gets to prove it. And yeah, I didn't hate the contract. Like you said, it's pretty much about what you're going to pay for a wing like that, especially coming off a year that he had. I think they made out okay, surprisingly, but they did have to give up a lot to get under that because of the Kemba Walker situation, and now they're trying to let go of Fournier. I don't know if that has happened yet. But yeah, don't hate it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I like it better than their last year's offseason, that's for sure.
Yes, for sure.
And then speaking of Kemba, I saw that he is looking to go to the Lakers. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Yeah, apparently Kemba is going to receive a buyout from Detroit.
I saw that part.
When he does, he is looking at the Los Angeles Lakers.
Good for him, man. I wish nothing but the best to Kemba Walker.
Yeah, as do I. But he's cooked.
I know. He was a guy that bought in. He was a guy that loved the franchise. He was a guy that loved the fans. I mean, I got nothing but love for Kemba Walker. And yes, he was cooked. And I was eating crow for a little bit. I was defending him. He was trying his best, though. I'll be real.
He wanted it.
He was trying his best.
He certainly was.
Yeah. A couple other takes. The Bucks agree to re-sign Bobby Portis. They also add Joe Ingles. So the Bucks looking to make some noise again. They're trying to stay relevant.
Good number too.
Someone brought up an interesting point. This might not be completely sustainable for that franchise in particular because they are now continuously dipping into the luxury tax. So I think last year they paid about $60 million in tax. This year they're probably looking in the higher of like 80 or 90, and that's kind of a small market franchise. So they're all in. They're all in to win as much as they can while Giannis is there until they kind of have to pull the plug a little bit. And
they're going to get hit with the repeater tax this year, then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know that's a heavy toll, and but I think the Milwaukee team doesn't a hedge fund own that, or like some kind of financial group.
I'm not sure, but I know when you deal with small market teams, I don't know where that revenue is coming from, unless they got it from somewhere else and they're just willing to throw it there. I mean, that's fine, but that doesn't seem like smart financial decisions. But hey, I don't know. You're the financial guy here.
Well, I think that the Bobby Portis number is actually pretty good. I think he took a pay cut.
Yeah, $12 million
to stay with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love Bobby Portis for $12 million a year. Defensively and what he culture-wise, what he gives your team. Again, another young guy. He's only 27 years old. So he's not going to give you a lot offensively, but as a defensive player, and you saw what he did in that Celtics series. I mean, he really put up some good numbers, good rebounding numbers. So great get for the Milwaukee. They'll be right back in the Eastern Conference Finals next year. I'm not worried about them one bit.
Yep. And then the other news, I guess this is another pretty big deal. Anthony Simons signed that 4-year, $100 million deal. Good for him. I know you, A-Rod, and KK were kind of discussing him in Portland. Pretty good young player, so that's pretty good. And PJ Tucker is nearing a 3-year, $33 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. That guy just keeps getting paid, man. I mean, good for him. That guy's a hustler.
Yeah, right? I mean, I guess. So he's reuniting with his old GM, Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
This is a guy that has never averaged more than 9 points a game per career for his entire career. I mean, this means nothing. So
plays good defense, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, good for him.
Yeah. So far, nothing on the front line. Anything else you want to get to as far as the NBA free agency is concerned for right now?
Right now, no. I just, I really need the Celtics to do something here because they haven't. It's shit or get off the pot time. And as I continue to look through these tweets, I see nothing, not even an inkling of anything happening. I cannot come to believe that Danilo Gallinari is the only move here.
Yeah.
So I think we got to start kicking tires.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, we're lucky we're in a situation too with Brad Stevens, as Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated alluded to, that this is a different era. Brad Stevens is not addicted to his draft picks as Danny Ainge was, which is fine. And, we have these guys on, about 3-4 more years in Brown and Tatum. It's like, it's time to win now. We got to do this now. So, and we saw what we were capable of. Need a couple guys to add to that. There has to be a move here made.
There has to be. I mean, because if you want to let's look at it again. There's no way we make the Eastern Conference Finals if Chris Middleton is not hurt. So we need to make moves to get better. We can't just sit around and run this back. We can't. Not with our bench.
And we can't run Tatum and Brown into the fucking ground.
No.
Pardon my French. But all right, real quick before we sign off with the NBA draft, Paolo Banchero goes number 1. So I think that was kind of a surprise. Not to me. I thought he was the most NBA ready. Apparently
Same.
he didn't have a tryout with the Orlando Magic.
He didn't.
Which is pretty interesting. I didn't even realize
They didn't work him out.
But I actually liked what I saw when I watched him play. He gave me a little bit of Jason Tatum vibes, at least when Jason Tatum was in college. Just seemed like a decent, ball handler, post ups pretty well. I think his shot is a little shady, if I'm not mistaken, but just seemed like a more NBA ready player. Makes great decisions, and I saw a lot like when he was getting double teamed, he was just passing out of it, just being really smart with the ball. So good get. I might go to a few more Magic games this year, man.
Yeah, I listened. Oh, I'd love to. I former Magic season ticket holder over here, but Russillo had Alex Martins, the CEO of the Magic, on his pod last week, and he was discussing how how that pick went down and why they went with Paolo. Basically. They didn't work him out because what they saw on tape was all they needed, apparently.
Nice. That's a typical answer.
Which is crazy to me. I mean, I can't believe that. Exactly. And he didn't really give away too much other than they had been scouting him for a long time, and it really came down to those 3, Chet, Jabari, and Paolo. Now, if you're looking for the home run, Paolo Banchero is your guy, right? Because he definitely has the highest ceiling, in my opinion, of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is
already
with him,
higher than theirs.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I think Jabari has the highest floor, just because of his shooting and his playmaking ability. But if Paolo works on his shot, brings that up, because he was a 33% shooter in college. If he can bring that up around 37, 38%, close to 40.
Look out.
He's going to be an amazing player. At 6'10", he's already a good gifted playmaker. I think he can only get better there. Defensively, he needs to try and do a little bit better, but I think that's something that he is projecting to do well in. I'm glad that they didn't pick Chet. I like Chet, but I think he was the home run swing if you wanted to go for one. Mm-hmm. He was the player that could end up being a Hall of Famer, but you go Paolo. I think Paolo's the right pick. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, me too. And as you mentioned, Chet Holmgren goes number 2 to Oklahoma City. Like what I'm seeing over there in Oklahoma City. I think they also got Jalen Williams from Arkansas. I really liked that pick as well.
Yeah.
In OKC. So, I mean, OKC's doing it right. I mean, we mentioned all these other teams trying to build these super teams, but OKC's on the side building up assets, building players up, guys coming out of nowhere. I mean, not out of nowhere, but kind of developing properly. And they have, they have Giddey over there. They got Shai over there. So, I mean, they've got some gifted players over there in OKC. That might be one of the teams that I want to keep my eye on, honestly, when the NBA season comes around.
And Paolo Banchero was number 1 on Kevin O'Connor's big board as well. Probably one of the bigger surprises of the night. Has to go to, well, other than Paolo going 1, has to go to the number 4 pick,
Keegan Murray.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not Jaden Ivey?
Right. That's the crazy thing.
Or even the third, and if you're going for one of those like athletic guards, you know what I mean?
Well, they go Keegan Murray, and that's fine. Jaden Ivey. Go back to Detroit real quick. They got Jaden Ivey drops to them, but somehow I don't know what the Kings are doing, man. I don't know what they saw, and I just don't understand it. And the thing is, like, it's not like Jaden Ivey was like older than Keegan Murray, right? I think they're both the same age. They're both sophomores. I know that. But then Benedict Martin goes, Mathurin goes 6 to the Pacers.
I understand the perspective of like, well, maybe they didn't want to load up their guard position because they already have De'Aaron Fox there, and can De'Aaron Fox and Jaden Ivey mesh properly? And would it scare De'Aaron Fox away from Sacramento? Granted, he's probably already scared, but maybe that was their point of view. But I think, like you mentioned, like you still got to take the best player, right? Like you take the best player available. I mean,
absolutely, and Detroit in their draft, they get Ivy and then they get Durant, 13. 2 good picks for them. This Detroit team, watch out for them in like 4 years, dude. They're going to be good.
That's another one of
another
my
big swing.
What's it called? That I'm going to be watching.
Oh yeah, I think they could be a Memphis Grizzlies in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
That type of team. And then Dieng and Williams rounded out OKC's draft picks for the night. So I think number 1 overall draft grade to me goes to the Magic, obviously, because I think they got the best player in the draft. But number 2 definitely goes to Detroit, and my number 3 favorite draft, obviously OKC.
OKC, yeah, I'm right there with you. So the Boston Celtics selected J.D. Davison from Tennessee, or Alabama. Sorry, Alabama. Pretty exciting player. Dude's got hops for days. Cannot shoot. Turns the ball over a lot. But that's gonna be a fun. If you guys are in Maine, anybody in Maine watching, you're gonna have fun watching him play for the Maine Celtics, because he's gonna be fun to watch. He reminds me like Joe.
The Red Claws, I mean.
But yeah, that pretty much round. Well, anything else you want to touch on with regards to the NBA draft? I mean, it was pretty top heavy, right? I mean, there's a lot of projects as you get deeper down into the draft. You're looking at Johnny Davis, pretty solid player, but again, kind of a project. It's going to be interesting to see how him and Beal can coincide there, if he's going to even get a lot of minutes. But I mean, yeah, you nailed it on the head. I mean, OKC is going to be fun to watch. Detroit's going to be fun to watch with a lot of these young guys that can develop properly with a core young team all around them. So
I mean, shit, OKC's going to start 2 7-footers. That's crazy. Poku and Chet is going to be amazing to watch. And 2 7-footers that can handle the ball, by the way. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited for this upcoming season. Next year's draft is a pretty much slam dunk. Number 1 overall pick will be Victor Wembanyama. Yeah, out of France. So it's going to be a tankathon, because he is apparently a generational talent. So expect the tanks to be out heavy, like the Spurs are already doing, getting rid of Lonnie Walker, getting rid of DeJounte Murray. Expect other teams to be tanking as well once they find out that they are completely out of it.
Another player that I think is low-key to keep your eyes on, Ty Washington out of Kentucky, that went to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh, yeah.
Liked what I saw in Kentucky. Went to a few games here, watching a lot of SEC basketball, especially SEC playoff basketball. Guy can play. Obviously, there's some concerns with his shot again, but great ball handler, good playmaker. Can make clutch shots and also plays really good defense. Kentucky played pretty good defense this year. Actually, most of the SEC played pretty good defense this year. Just none of them could score. But I think an interesting guy that could be a solid young rotation player for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Absolutely. I like Ty Washington a lot. So we have that in common.
Nice. But yeah. And then, the funny one I thought was the Nikola Jovic. Do you have any press on Nikola Jovic?
I have no. When I saw it, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But no, I remember reading the draft guide. What's his name? Kevin O'Connor's draft guide, and seeing Jovic's name. So that it didn't catch me off guard as it might have some other people, but that's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, I trust Miami though. You know what I mean? I don't second guess what Miami
Oh,
does.
I'm not talking about the pick. I'm talking about the name.
Oh yeah. That's gonna be tough. Yeah.
The name they call you. Oh my God, I just said it.
Yeah.
But Kevin O'Connor projected him as like a Danilo Gallinari type.
Oh, okay.
Who could possibly develop a 3-point shot later in his career. So we'll see. I mean, you never go wrong with a 6'9" forward who can handle the ball.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty much our time. I mean, I really wanted to get into a little MLB, but we'll do that. We'll save it for next time because we'll have probably a little less coming all at once.
2 months
with
of
the NBA.
MLB.
Yeah, we'll have a bunch of MLB to touch on. But Vic, anything you kind of want to close out with?
No, just please don't trade Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, please don't trade Jaylen Brown. And with that, I want to thank everybody that came in the chat today. Shout out Arctic JC, Average Kurt, as always, and Anthony. And want to say a big what's up to Geronimo if he's watching.
Hello.
Might be in bed right now, but hey, maybe Anthony can show him tomorrow. But yeah, if you guys haven't already, like and subscribe. If you love the content, be sure to check us out on Instagram at Townie_sports. You can also find us on TikTok at Townie Sports Pod, all one word. We will be back in 2 weeks, again, 8 p.m. between either Tuesday or Thursday, most likely Tuesday, 8 p.m. We'll be touching on a lot more MLB stuff, so be sure to check us out there. But yeah, with that being said, I'm Sammy.
We missed the NBA.
Yeah, I know. Bring the NBA back. Alongside Vic, as always, and we are Townie Sports. We'll see you guys later.
Hey, swag so mean, swagger on 100. We keep it real, dog. Nah, we ain't never fronted. You know my whole cap G-clan stay blunted. My toes stay bruised, cause I'm running to the money. Swag so mean, swagger on 100. We keep it real, dog.